Welcome to tonight's session on navigating digital overload. We're going to be talking about holistic solutions to overcome the burnout that comes with this digital overload. And please take a moment to let us know where you are joining us from this evening. Henry from Surrey, BC. So I'm originally from Vancouver, British Columbia. That's where I grew up, and I have family in Surrey. I have lots of family there. So welcome, welcome. So nice to have that connection, although I live in California now. So nice. How did you find out about this workshop, Henry? I'm really curious. So just let us know in the chat how you guys found out about this. Okay, so 6 o'clock, 6:01 actually. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Let's go ahead and get started. Whoops. Okay, so I'm Dr. Nishi Bhopal. I'm an integrative psychiatrist. I'm a sleep medicine physician. I'm the founder of Pacific Integrative Psychiatry. We're an online telehealth practice. We see patients all across California, and we help people with anxiety, depression, burnout, and sleep issues using integrative and holistic strategies. And we're going to be talking about some of those today. And then we have Dr. Malathi with us as well.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Dr. Malti Acharya. I'm an integrative medicine specialist and founder of Ayur Integrative Medicine. We are an integrative medicine consulting practice. And by integrative medicine, I blend treatments from the conventional Western system of medicine with treatments from other complementary and alternative systems, all grounded in research. Our special area of focus is heart and metabolic health, as well as cancer. And my passion lies in optimizing health outcomes by tailoring holistic and evidence-based approaches to individual needs. And I'm thrilled to explore this very relevant and important topic with all of you today. A few housekeeping things before we actually get started. Disclaimer, what we are discussing here is for informational purpose only. This is not medical advice. And what can you expect from this webinar today? The recording from this webinar will be available a few days after the session, so you can sit back and relax. Participation is encouraged, so we will be inviting you to share your thoughts and comments in the chat, and at other times also feel free to share your thoughts and comments in the chat as we go. We want to be respectful of each other's privacy, minimize distractions, and mute your mic when you're not talking. What is the roadmap for this evening? We are going to talk about what is digital overload, what is the impact on mind and body, how do you know if you have a problem, and the most important thing would be what are the strategies that we have for you, and question and answers. That's the roadmap for this evening. So what is digital overload? At this point, Nishi, I'm going to turn over the mic to you.
Okay, Dr. Malathi. So digital overload, we can think about it in so many different ways. And so I like to think about it in terms of physical symptoms, mental health, and then cognitive symptoms. It's really essentially this information bombardment that we're all experiencing. And there's been some interesting studies looking at has this changed during COVID? Because during the pandemic, everything went online. And so now we're all on our devices constantly. And so we're seeing increased rates of depression and anxiety. People are struggling with irritability. There's cognitive dysfunction. I see that we have Dr. John McCroot on this call. He's a neurofeedback practitioner. He can speak about this as well. We're seeing that people are really struggling with physical symptoms as well. Dr. Malthi is going to be talking about those in terms of things like tech neck. There's this thing called smartphone thumb, where there's actual physical manifestations of these issues with being on our devices all the time. You might also notice that you're just generally more fatigued, right? So I know for myself, struggling with just feeling brain fog, fatigue, even just being on Zoom all day. There's a thing called Zoom fatigue. You can have eye strain. So there's so many different manifestations of what digital overload looks like. And so what I encourage you all to do is to take a moment to reflect on what this looks like for you. How might it be showing up? And so if you want to take a moment just to type in the chat what digital overload looks like for you and how it might be affecting you. Would anybody like to share? Maybe Dr. Malathi, do you want to share a little bit about your experience with it?
So for me, digital overload happens pretty much on a daily basis unless I don't focus myself. So coming and sitting on the desk to start my work day and opening my email, but then getting this notification on my phone about a Facebook post. So moving over to there and then flitting from one group to another in the Facebook. And then in the meantime, there's some other notification, some personal or some text message that pops up on the phone. And just using up all my energy in going from one thing to another for the first, whatever, half an hour, 45 minutes without actually achieving anything. That's what my digital overload looks like.
Yes, and I see Kiana is adding increased fatigue, anxiety, rumination, decreased attention span. So those are some really big symptoms that I think are quite common when it comes to digital overload. And there was a study from, I think it was in 2021, looking at the different types of information that we're taking in, and does it matter what type of information we're being exposed to with digital overload, and does that have different impacts? And one of the conclusions of this study was that asynchronous communication, meaning, so right now we're synchronous, right? So we're all here, we're live, we're talking to each other. So that's synchronous. We're on video, so you can see us, you can hear our voices, body language, all of those things. So that is actually less likely to cause digital overload, according to the study, versus asynchronous communication. So those are things like emails, text messages, social media messages, your DMs, Slack messages, all of these things, because it causes a little bit of cognitive clutter. So we're talking right now, you're processing that information, but when you've got all these messages piling up, your brain is thinking about all of that stuff. It feels like you have more work to do. You might be even thinking about your email inbox and how many unread messages are in there. And I'm embarrassed to share how many I have on the order of maybe 15,000 unread messages or something like this. And so that feels very heavy to deal with. And so that's something to also reflect on just for your own life and how you're going through your day with regard to synchronous versus asynchronous communication and what impact that might have on you. So just keep all of this in mind as we move along. So we're going to invite you to share. Just go to the next slide here. To start thinking about this, we've put together these 5 different personalities when it comes to using digital devices and responding to messages. Think about these and let us know in the chat, which one are you? So are you the multitasker? The multitasker is the person who is jumping from one task to another. You've got multiple tabs open. You might be looking at other things right now as we're talking. You might be scrolling through social media during meetings and so on. But the signs of burnout with this are feeling constantly scattered. You're unable to focus on one thing at a time. You might be experiencing mental fatigue from trying to do too much simultaneously. As it says in the chat, it says multitasking actually isn't possible, and that's exactly right. So if you identify with this category, let us know. Henry says definitely multitasker. Okay, number 2 is the notification addict. This is the person who thrives on getting a rush of notifications, your emails, texts, app alerts. You feel compelled to keep checking your devices. You might notice that you feel anxious when you're not checking your notifications, or you have trouble disconnecting during your leisure time, and you have this feeling that you're always on call. If that resonates with you, let us know in the chat. And keep in mind that you can be more than one of these. Okay, number 3 is the infinite scroller. So here you find yourself endlessly scrolling through social media feeds, or you're binge watching online content. You might be losing track of time. And then signs of burnout here are feeling drained after spending hours online. You might start neglecting other activities or responsibilities. And you might find that it's hard to find a sense of satisfaction beyond digital engagement. right? And this is where we might start to see anxiety and irritability and those types of things showing up. Is that you? Are you the infinite scroller? I see some of you are identifying with some of these personalities. And again, you can be one or more than one or all. Okay, number 4 is the perpetual sharer. This is you if you're frequently posting updates, photos, sharing stories on social media. And you might notice that you start seeking validation and connection through online sharing. And some signs of burnout here are feeling a pressure to constantly curate your online persona. You might find that you're constantly comparing yourself to others based on social media activities, falling into that comparisonitis trap. You might start to experience anxiety related to online engagement because you're seeing other people's feeds and maybe fall into this trap of comparing yourself to them, and that can create some anxiety. Does that resonate with you? Let us know. And then number 5 is the people pleaser. Here, you feel that you instantly need to respond to every email, every text, every message that you get, whether it's a work-related message or it's personal. You feel like you have to get back to that person right away. And then you can start to feel exhausted by trying to keep up. This can create some irritability and anxiety, even if you don't hear back from them. You might feel resentful that, why does this person keep texting me? I don't have time to respond to their message, because you feel this need to respond right away. Or you might start to get anxious or even have some resentment and irritability when they don't get back to you right away, even though you do. So do you resonate with that one? Let us know in the chat. And so I'm seeing that we've got some number 4s, 1, 2, 3, and 4, some number 3. I think personally, I identify with aspects of all of these, actually. What about you, Dr. Malathi?
Yes, and that's true. We can be different personalities, different times of the day, or on different days, depending on workload, our physical health, mental, emotional health. So yeah, we can flit in and out of these, and this it's not uncommon at all. But the important thing is to be aware of what we are doing and to catch ourselves and take corrective actions.
Absolutely. So as we go through this talk, I want you to keep these different personality structures or these different avatars in mind, and just think about how some of the strategies we're going to talk about might help you if you do resonate with any of these categories that we just talked about. Okay, so Dr. Malathi will tell us a bit about the impact on the body and mind.
Absolutely. To summarize what Dr. Nishi put together, the symptoms look like difficulty in focusing on one task, inability to focus and pay attention on one task. So this constant flitting from one task to another gives rise to fatigue, mental and physical fatigue, and also anxiety, stress, and irritability. Now our efficiency becomes reduced because it feels like we are doing a lot, but we are actually not achieving our things that we actually need to do for the day. And that leads to overwhelm and reduced efficiency. Now, these are the impact. This is all the impact on our mind. Let's look at impact on our body. Eye strain, very significant. Eye strain, headaches, dry eyes, blurred vision at the end of the day, very common, becoming very common and quite, quite, quite a handicap, I would say, because after constant staring at the different screens, and I find that my vision really gets blurred at the end of the day. And maybe that's good in a way because then I stop reading things and staring at the screen, but it can lead to long-term consequences in visual acuity changes. To strain injuries, text neck, trapezius strain, tennis elbow, forearm strain, tennis elbow, dequer veins, thumb tenosynovitis, tendon inflammation in the thumb, you name it, all along the axis of how we use the mouse and the screen, especially if we are not set up very ergonomically. When I was a primary care physician, much of the visits from my patients who are younger and in the workforce was from these repetitive strain related injuries. Sleep problems, very common, blue light exposure, not allowing our mind to really go through a period of shutdown to really get ready to sleep. So sleep problems. And also this feeling of social isolation and disconnection because our entire mental and emotional energy is consumed by interacting electronically on the devices, and we have no bandwidth left to actually interact with people, which can be very renewing to our spirits. And so this feeling of social isolation and disconnection, this occurs not only for adolescents, children, adolescents, but it also, and young adults, but it also occurs for everybody. Does this resonate with you? Which one of these symptoms do you have? Or you may have noticed this in your loved one, or which one of these do you have? Please feel free to share in the chat. Nishi, back to you.
Okay, yeah. You'll notice these common themes coming up. And again, please feel free to share in the chat if any of these things resonate with you, or if there are things that you can think of that we haven't spoken about yet. Please feel free to share if there's other experiences or ideas you have about this. Saying feeling like constantly doing a lot without accomplishing anything significant. That's such a common one, right? And I certainly can relate to that, where it feels like you've got this never-ending to-do list and you might check off some of your items each day, and then you feel like this is just snowballing and you feel like, what have I even done today? I think that's really common. And so just talking about when is digital overload a problem, that is one of the signs to look out for. And when I think about digital overload, we're talking about a couple of things. One is the actual exposure to screens, so the physical symptoms of, like Dr. Malti was saying, the tech neck, the eye strain of like actually looking at screens all day, whether it's a laptop, a phone, iPad. So just being constantly engaged in these devices. And then the other aspect is the information overload, a bit of it too. There's that physical and then the cognitive overload, just with all the information and stimulation that we're taking in. So yes, it can lead to what Kiana just shared about feeling like you're just on this treadmill and you're never accomplishing things, or there's just so much information that you can't take in. And so how I'm seeing this showing up for people is analysis paralysis. Even simple things can feel overwhelming. For example, let's say you want to buy a new mattress. And it can feel overwhelming because there's so much information now online, and you can go down these rabbit holes of researching and shopping around, and you might never make a decision, right? So this decision fatigue and analysis paralysis I'm seeing happening a lot with people. We've talked about irritability and just feeling like you're constantly on edge. That's a sign that digital overload might be a problem for you. There's a phenomenon called digital dementia. It's not real dementia, which is a clinical diagnosis, but it refers to problems with attention, focus. Your mental reserves become depleted when you're constantly bombarded with information. And this can show up with short-term memory issues. You might find that you're easily losing things or forgetting things, or what was that guy's name again? You might find that you have word finding difficulty. We were talking about the myth of multitasking at the beginning, that it's hard to even just stay focused on one thing. John is saying the dopamine hit from digital engagement is very powerful. Absolutely. Game designers and social media companies know very well how to turn that into an algorithm. Yeah, and so with the games, there's this thing that they built in. I'm having word finding difficulty. I think it's called dynamic gameplay, I believe is what it's called, which is designed to keep that dopamine hit coming so you don't turn off the game, you just keep on going. Social media is designed to keep you scrolling. And so this can be a problem when you can't stop. And so I see this with people that we work with in our practice where they just can't get off. Now it's called X, but they couldn't get off Twitter, or they couldn't get off Instagram or TikTok and get their work done. If you're noticing that some of these things might be coming up for you, that might be a sign that it could be a problem. We talked a little bit about some of the physical manifestations. I'll just review those again. So the tech neck, the eye strain, smartphone thumb, you can get strain in your ligaments and tendons. Being sedentary, if you're on your screens most of the time, you end up being less active, and that can lead to health issues down the line. Weight gain, metabolic issues, which is Dr. Malati's area of expertise that she helps people with. She mentioned sleep issues as well. And that can be partly because of the blue light exposure, but also sleep displacement. People might end up just binge watching Netflix or scrolling their Instagram feed instead of going to bed. Sleep deprivation can be as a result of that sleep displacement as well. The list goes on, right? So there's so many different aspects of this. We won't spend too much time on it, but again, There's other ideas. John is saying when digital relationships become more interesting than in real life. Yes, absolutely. So we have an epidemic of loneliness. We're more connected than ever in some ways, yet we're more disconnected than ever. And many of these relationships that people have online are not actual relationships, right? They're not they're not doing human being things where we're out and we're connecting with one another and you're spending time with people, but it can feel like it's a relationship. Then this can lead to issues with feeling depressed, with anxiety, with loneliness, with trying to fill a void. If people are spending a lot of time online, sometimes I wonder what's missing in your life that you're trying to fill with being on your phone all the time or using social media. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And then John is sharing we are uncomfortable being bored. Absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have all of this stuff, and we would have hours and hours of just being bored all day in the summer, right? And you're just out maybe riding your bike or whatever. And so we were so accustomed to boredom, but now people find it so hard to tolerate even just white space, just having white space in their calendar. Anyways, we can keep going on and on about that. But Dr. Malathi, do you want to share anything else before we move into strategies?
You talked about we are in this really connected with so many different people, groups, and whatever networks. There are 100 networks, and we're exchanging messages and reading. Yet there is this feeling of loneliness because these are not real, where we can share emotions or comfort each other. So that's the key here, to recognize that. And we're going to talk about the strategies, practical, simple, evidence-based strategies. But it's, yeah, that's what I wanted to share. That feels like I'm connected, but in essence, I'm lonely.
Absolutely. So let's maybe talk about what we can do about this. Strategies. Okay. Let's try this because this is something that I like to do is let's all just take a deep breath right now. This is a strategy that I like to use. If everyone would like to indulge me in that, let's just take a moment and just breathe in and exhale. How did that feel? Just to do that for a second. Let me know in the chat. What did that feel like? And I see Kiana just multitask by opening my phone to uninstall TikTok. Nice one. I like it. Malathi said slowed me down. Dr. John thinks it was centering. Yeah. So that's a simple thing, right? A simple example of a strategy. Okay. So let's talk about some more strategies. I like to think of navigating burnout in 3 steps. And so the first step that I generally recommend is just to start noticing how this digital overload is affecting you. So check in with yourself. We looked at some of the symptoms already. We looked at some of the personality styles that might be showing up. So just start to identify, are you the multitasker or the people pleaser? How might these symptoms or how might digital overload be showing up for you in terms of symptoms? And Audrey saying that breath helped to release high energy. You love taking deep breaths. Yeah, me too. I think it's such a powerful practice. So do you notice that your breath is more shallow throughout the day? Maybe that's a symptom. Maybe you feel disconnected from your body. So start noticing how digital overload affects you. I would also encourage you to think about if you are scrolling TikTok or if you're on X all day or you're just knee deep in your email, why is that? Are you distracting yourself from other things that you might not want to be addressing in your life? Is there something missing? Feelings, needs, connection that's missing in your life that is now being filled with these other activities? I also recommend checking in with yourself about why you're going into your email or you're going into your Instagram. What do you want to get out of that? Right? So bringing some intentionality into that. So step 1 is that noticing and checking in with yourself. Step 2 I like to introduce for strategies is what I call micro practices. So these are things like what we just did, just taking a deep breath, doing that for a few seconds. It's a micro practice. It just takes a few seconds. No special equipment is required. You can do it anytime, any place, and it's always available. Stretching is another one. Maybe we can all do that together. Just roll out your shoulders, right? Or clasp your hands behind your back, right? That just feels good and alleviates that tech neck. So that's just a little micro practice that you can do. Another one that I like to do is because I'm on Zoom all day, that's how I see patients all day. So what I do is I actually like to close my eyes for a few seconds between visits and just sit back and just to close my eyes and give my eyes a break. And then sometimes I'll get up and do some squats, or I might run up and down the stairs or something just to get some movement. So those are little micro practices that you can build in. And how I recommend doing that is again with intention. And so you can pick checkpoints. So maybe before and after every meeting, you do a couple of these micro practices. Maybe you do them hourly. Maybe you do them before and after meals, whatever checkpoints make sense for you, but start to make it a daily habit. Then step 3 is thinking about a digital detox. So this you can do on a daily basis. So for example, there's a bookend technique. I sent the email about that. If anyone didn't see the email, the bookend technique is where you basically bookend your day without devices. So within an hour of waking up and at least an hour before going to bed, no devices. We can talk about TV and things, it's a little bit different, but no phone, email, laptop, scrolling, bookend your day with a little mini detox. You can also consider doing a full day detox, maybe one weekend day, like on a Sunday. If that feels too much, maybe half a day, half a Sunday, or half a day a week, and just getting used to feeling bored, like we were talking about, getting used to just not being attached. Like my phone is like an appendage sometimes. If I don't have it, I'm like, where is it? So you have to get used to that feeling of not having it. So doing this little detox can be helpful. And then, of course, mindful consumption. So if you are going to be using your device, what are you using it for? What is the intention behind that? I will pause there and let Dr. Malathi take over.
Thank you. Dr. Nishi touched upon practices, management techniques that by hacking into the communication, mind-body communication, and using it to our advantage. And she also talked about micro practices and digital detox. I am going to talk about strategies under 3 distinct topics. 1, nutrition; 2, movement; and 3, connection with nature. Nutrition, there is no doubt that nutrition plays a key role in managing stress and anxiety. And I want to focus on just a couple of things under this topic. It's important to choose whole, unrefined, organic, whenever possible, predominantly plant-based foods that are anti-inflammatory and provide our body with micronutrients like vitamins and minerals that are crucial for the biochemical processes. They are important for the synthesis of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which help regulate our mood. So it is important that the food we consume actually provides us with not only the macronutrients, the proteins, carbs, and fats, but also the micronutrients that are so important for different functions of the body and specifically the nervous system functions and mood regulation. So, being very conscious about choosing a wide range of vegetables and fruits in all colors, whole grains, proteins from predominant plant based, healthy fats, nuts, seeds, etc. The second thing I want to talk about is mindful eating. Mindful eating is all about being present and fully engaged with that process of eating the food, each bite, savoring, right from savoring the texture, the flavor, the taste, listening in to our body's hunger cues, and then how the hunger cues change into satiety cues, and being aware of it and receiving those signals can transform this act of eating from just a chore that we sometimes perform in front of the in basket reading email messages. We can transform this act into a tool for stress reduction and heightened self-awareness. So it becomes a sort of, let it become a meditative experience, thereby calming down our sympathetic system and letting the parasympathetic system dominate, which is anyway necessary for proper digestion. We are just enhancing that process by allowing that. So I know Dr. Nishi always talks about micro practices. Whenever you take a break to eat a meal or eat your snack, make it a habit to turn away from the screen or turn away from any of the devices. Sit down, take a few minutes to actually savor and enjoy the food. And also, I also like these affirmations that, for example, when I'm eating salads, yes, it's not one of my favorite foods, but I know that it has a lot of beneficial nutrients. So I also have this reinforcement practice where when I'm eating the salad, I talk to myself and I tell myself, hey, I'm taking the time to prepare and eat this salad, which is going to which has all these nutrients, and my body is going to benefit from this. So those affirmations as you go through the process of mindful eating is very important. Moving on from eating, I'm going to talk about movement. Now, you'll notice that I'm using the term movement rather than exercise because exercise sounds very prescriptive, whereas movement sounds like fun, and that's how it should be. It should be fun. We all know the benefits of movement: reducing your blood pressure, reducing the blood sugar, increasing the heart's cardiac output, the heart's pumping capacity, creating extra collateral channels of blood vessels in the heart, all of those. It's well known. But I want to highlight some of the less talked about benefits of movement. Causes increased levels of a neurotransmitter called brain-derived, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So BDNF is very important in helping our brain adapt to stress. So during a stress, the brain has to have the capacity to receive that information, process it, and store it as new experience and learn and reorganize. And BDNF helps our brain to handle this stress in a positive way. And it also helps with mood regulation. This is a less talked about, but more and more research is coming out on it, and this topic is becoming more talked about. But I wanted to highlight exercise, movement, and exercise causes release of BDNF. And we all know about endorphin. Vigorous movement causes relief of endorphins, which is uplifting, which is our body's internal mood lifting neurotransmitter. The psychological effects of movement. Movement increases our sense of self-efficacy and mastery. So self-efficacy is our own perception of our ability to take and complete a task successfully. And mastery is whether we consider ourselves competent in the task that we take up. So this is how it works, right? Movement in any form. It could be your daily evening walks you take, or it could be a yoga class that you join. We set these goals, right? It could be, hey, I'm going to walk a quarter mile extra today or 10 minutes extra today than yesterday. So we set these distinct goals and achieve these goals. And in yoga practice, it could be, I am learning to master this pose, which is very difficult. I'm learning to hold this pose for 10 seconds longer than I did yesterday, and feeling that strength and flexibility. So as we accomplish these physical achievements and goals, that translates into mental strength, and we apply that same confidence into, I will be able to achieve this task that I'm taking up. And that goes into our professional life or other challenging tasks that we have to take in other spheres of life. So movement has this psychological effect also. And we all know that movement reduces inflammation. Inflammation is what starts a lot of diseases. It's a starting point for a lot of chronic conditions as well as cancer. So movement reduces the inflammation. In fact, in traditional Chinese medicine, movement restores the flow of energy or qi, and that helps restore balance and health, because when the qi is not circulating properly and there is stagnation or excess or lack of qi, that's when disease happens. So movement helps restore the movement of qi in the body. I wanted to highlight the less spoken benefits of movement. Then moving on to nature, connection with nature. Now, In this day and age, we sure suffer from a nature deficit disorder. There are several studies that show that exposure to nature and outdoors has a positive impact on health and wellness. In the Japanese literature, the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture did a study on forest bathing or Shinrin Yoku. And those studies showed distinctly reduced levels of cortisol, heart rate, blood pressure, and reduced sympathetic system activity. And these effects are not just and we all know that there are studies that have shown in children and adolescents, so improvement in attention, behavior, social connectedness, and physical health. So this effect of nature is across all age spectrums. So again, going back to micro practices that Dr. Nishi talked about, how do we connect to nature? Sure, taking long hikes on weekends is one good way, but how do we bring it in our daily lives? No, if you have a window in your office, taking a few moments to stare out and look out of the window and look at nature, that's one way. Look at the bright sunlight, the sky, the greenery, if any greenery is visible, that is one thing. If you don't have a window in your office or in your cubicle, there is a window right outside your office along the corridor. Taking that few moments to get up, move away from the computer screen, go to that window, take a few moments and stare outside. It's a good break to alleviate the eye strain, the physical posture, and also this few minutes of visual, comforting visual vision of nature. It could be having a house plant, having a plant and sitting next to your plant in the evening, having your cup of coffee, or it could be an office plant that you have in your desk and you get into the habit of admiring it grow and wondering at how the plant is growing in size or it's flowering and all. It's just intentionally engaging in these activities. It could be taking a few minutes to step out into your front yard or garden to enjoy the green and nature. These are the micro practices. So getting nature into our lives every day it has lasting effects on our health and wellness. Dr. Nishi, so having explored these strategies to combat digital overload, I want us to take these insights. Now, I wanted us to take these insights and convert it into action. So, please take 2 minutes to reflect and write down one or two practical actions that resonate with you and that you can begin implementing as soon as we finish today. Because we plan to finish right at 7 and it's still daylight outside. So actions that you can start implementing today. So I invite you to take 2 minutes to reflect and jot down one, maybe two action steps. I'm going to time and give us 2 minutes. And when you're done reflecting, I invite you to share it in the chat with us.
Dr. Malati, are there any practices that you want to start implementing?
I exercise in the morning on my elliptical, but I really want, now that the weather is warm and nice here, I want to start going out for a walk outside at least for 15 minutes every evening. Many times I'm like, okay, I've done the elliptical, that's good enough, but I don't have this connection with nature. So I want to make it a habit to walk outside at least 3 days a week.
I love that. Yeah, that's so powerful. And
Do you want to share?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That
Yeah. I'll share so mine is the bookend technique, which is I'm not super consistent with it, so I wanna get more consistent with that because I do notice first of all, there's just more time in the morning. If you're not looking at your phone, I can easily get sucked into, "Oh, let me check this email," and start doing things. And so I've stopped doing that. Now I actually have time to do my morning meditation practice more consistently, which sets the tone for the day. And then, of course, not using my devices at night, I do notice an actual improvement in my sleep quality. And it shows up in my HRV, my heart rate variability on my Aura Ring, which is a device, but so I do see that. So the bookend technique. And then I really love the mindful eating that you spoke about. So that is absolutely something that I'm going to keep practicing. And then Kiana is saying, "Wanna try the bookend technique, mindful eating." Yeah, I'm with you. We'll do it together. And taking breakfast on the balcony for nature and sunlight. That's beautiful.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, Kiana.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And another thing I started doing too is, or at least I try to make these a habit, is at least on the weekends, we have a really lovely deck where I've got my plants and things, and just not even taking any devices out there, and at least just getting out there, getting my vitamin D, sitting in the sun, having my morning hot drink, and just being without any stimulation, not even a book or magazine. I try to just sit there in silence and listen to the wind and have that detox. John, would you like to share? I see that you wrote down anything that you want to try, or anyone else. Would anyone else like to share any strategies that they want to give a go over the next few weeks? And
Yeah,
what,
we'd love to hear your thoughts and your
yeah.
action plan.
And any ideas that you guys have that we shared a few things, but what else? Taking a walk in the middle of the day without a phone, fabulous. Scheduling your social media engagement. That's a good one. Yeah, scheduling time that you just have this time block just for a specific activity and you don't do it outside of that. That's a really good one. If anyone else would like to share, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And then let's see, as we are winding down, and please feel free to keep sharing. Dr. Malathi can share a little bit about how she might support people through this kind of a process and the work that you do, Dr. Malathi.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this world of digital overload and increased attachment to devices has undoubtedly led to to an increase in health issues like metabolic imbalances, diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. At Ayur Integrative Medicine, I address these challenges with personalized treatment plans, including nutritional interventions, mind body practices for stress management, movement prescriptions, and much, much more. So, if you're ready to take that next step towards a healthier and more balanced life, I invite you to visit our website at www.ayur.today and book a pre-sign up call. So let's work together to create a personalized plan that fits your unique needs.
Wonderful. Yeah, Dr. Malathi she's so knowledgeable about metabolic health, and especially for South Asian, we have a higher rate of diabetes and metabolic issues. And so she's really an expert in that area. And I see some more comments. So my practice is called Pacific Integrative Psychiatry. And so we help patients with integrative psychiatry, nutrition, supplements, therapy. And so I see a comment who works with Josh Habansky. Josh is amazing. He's our psychiatric nurse practitioner. He's trained in integrative and functional medicine. So he recommended taking 5 deep breaths before opening social media and after that to see if I still want to continue. Such a great tip. Yeah, Josh is amazing. He's just got so much knowledge and he can really help coach people through this kind of a process. Audrey is saying incorporating meditation during my sleep hygiene process. Amazing. Yeah, that's such a great way to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is necessary for sleep onset and digestion, as Dr. Malathi was talking about. And when we're using our devices, we're not activating that rest and digest system. We're activating our sympathetic fight, flight, and freeze response. And so it's antithetical to sleep. That's a wonderful practice. So, for anyone, if you'd like to go deeper into some of these aspects or get support, or if you're noticing that maybe there is more anxiety, depression, irritability, or you're just having a difficulty getting a handle on your everyday behaviors and you want to optimize your mental wellness, we would love to work with you. And we're at pacificintegrativepsych.com. As we're winding down, we're open to questions or comments. If anyone wants to just jump up on the screen and share or share in the chat, we would love to hear from you guys. Was this helpful? Was there anything surprising? Anything else that you want to take away? Yeah, please share.
Invite you to unmute your mic and share with us, or you can share it on comments, whichever you prefer.
And I'll just add as well that we're very grateful for all of you that you're spending your evening with us, 6 o'clock in the evening, or if you're in a different time zone, it's even later than that. And so we're very grateful for you to just come spend some time with us this evening. Thank you for your attention. And again, we're open to questions, comments. If anyone wants to share anything, we'll stay on a little bit longer. Okay, looks like John, you're leaving. Bye, John. Thanks for
No, no,
coming.
no, no, I'm not leaving. I had a
Oh, I
comment.
thought you were waving goodbye. Okay.
Oh, well, if you want to kick me off, that's fine.
No, please.
Nope.
Hey, thank you for the promotion. I'm actually not a doctor. These two people are doctors, so they get to have real life commentary on your health. Mine is tangential. But anyway, my point is, I'm not sure who's here on the call. I'm guessing most of us are adults. My concern around digital addiction is more aiming toward children. We're really missing the boat on how to strategize, how to get our kids to have a better perspective, and it starts with us modeling it properly. So let's be honest, we all have our problems with this. But better modeling by us is going to teach them how to really understand what a possibly horrifying digital addiction can be. Their forming brains are not ready for the kind of dialogue that we can have at 30 or 40 or 50 or older about boundary space and responsibility, personal responsibility, strategies. They don't know them. And it's our job to help guide them through some of that. If you want to read an article on this, Jonathan Haidt, who's somebody I follow in this digital space, just wrote an article in the New Yorker about taking the phones away from our kids. Horrifying thought for anybody who's got a 9 or 10-year-old, but it's something that we need to really consider how we let our kids interact with this digital space. It's an addictive, one could almost say destructive domain in which to operate as a 9 or 10 or 12-year-old. An adult, you got different responsibilities, but I'm very concerned about the children. Thank you. Thank you guys for doing this. This was great today.
Oh, thank you,
Absolutely, it's a
John.
very valid concern. Yep. And we don't even know the long-term effects of this in the developing brain. Obviously, this is something that's been in the recent years. So it's really scary to even think of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Dr. Malty said, we really don't know what the long-term effects are, but it's highly addictive. And so you can imagine how we're having this session right now and how difficult it is for us to navigate this digital overload. And if you don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, how hard is it to have self-regulation around that? And we really do have to model it. Thank you, John, for sharing that article as well. Kiana, do you have your hand raised? Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I had a question about, so it really resonated with me, the physical symptom that you mentioned, or I guess emotional symptom of not being able to focus on one task. So like writing an email and then opening Twitter and then writing another email, spending an hour on Twitter. Do you have any recommendations for how to improve that?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Malathi, did you want to share? And I can jump in.
Yes, the one thing I would say is planning the day at the desk ahead of when you actually come and sit at the desk. And if you're a person who's done this and if you're open to it, like Dr. Nishi said, starting the day with a little bit of meditation or contemplation or even a few deep breaths so that we activate our parasympathetic system, we quieten the fight flight response that we always experience when there's a lot of work and we come to our desk. That allows us to plan and write down on a piece of paper how we are going to go through the day, being very intentional. If there are emails, I'm going to look at the emails from this time to this time. Now, many of us have to interact on the social media for business reasons, sometimes for private reasons. If that is the reason, then being very intentional about it. I'm going to spend time from this time to this time on the social media, just responding to comments or for A, B, and C, and that's it. And then sticking to those intentions when we actually go do it is what I would say. Dr. Nishi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. So again, it really comes back to that intentionality of, okay, what is it that I'm doing right now? And I struggle with this too. I'm very guilty of, I start writing an email and I'm like, oh wait, I had to check that other thing. And then now I'm gone and I forgot about the first thing I was doing. So it's almost like you have to retrain your brain to be focused. That intentionality. The other thing that I do is, yeah, and that's what John does. He helps people retrain their brains. But the other thing that I do is I will close all the other tabs in my browser. So I just have that one tab open. I just have my email open and then I'll do the email or whatever the task is, and then I'll close that. Otherwise, if I have multiple tabs open, I'm going to get distracted and I'm going to start thinking about I have that article open over there and I've got Facebook open there. Oh, that LinkedIn message. So I'm just distracted anyway. So I like to minimize that. I always keep my phone face down. Like even right now, it's face down. So I don't know what's happening on my phone. And I've turned off all notifications on my phone. I can't stand notifications because I will get so distracted by them. So I don't have any notifications on my phone at all. And then I know you mentioned deleting TikTok from your phone. So I've done that too. Like I've deleted all of those apps that distract me. So it really is a process of practice though. Just like with meditation, it's a practice. You learn the practice, you keep doing it. This is a practice. It's practicing being focused and just bringing yourself back to the task at hand.
That was really helpful. And I was just like writing it all down. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We have a couple of minutes left. Does anyone else have thoughts, questions,
Oh,
suggestions?
hi, Dr. Nishi, and this is Audrey.
Hi.
There's a great book that I'm starting to read. It's called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. It's very interesting because I think we've developed just this constant bombardment of emails and texts, and at work, it's like team messaging and meetings and either in person or Zoom. And sometimes I guess, don't know how to control that or how to stop it, but I've been reading this book and it's been very helpful. So I don't know if anybody else might want to take a look at it. It's called Rewire Your Anxious Brain by Catherine M. Pittman. I can put it in the chat.
Fantastic. Thank you. That sounds fascinating. I just grabbed the link and I put that in the chat. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so helpful. What are your biggest takeaways from the book so far?
I guess it's just a lot of anxiety that I've developed over time, and sometimes I don't know how to control that anxiety. So it's really just learning about actually how your brain works, right? So yeah, I took some science classes in college, but I think really understanding what your brain is going through, I think is really helping me understand how to be able to change my actions with regards to anxiety.
Absolutely. And there's always this invitation from everywhere for us to share and to monitor. For example, I have a sleep number bed, and every time I put the app to adjust the position, they say, oh, we are not collecting data from you. Should we collect data? And I have deliberately not allowed that mattress to collect my sleep data. Because I really don't want everyone coming to me and saying, oh, you're doing this well and you're not doing this well. So be very choosy about what you want to allow to be monitored about yourself. Sometimes they're beneficial, but many times they're not. So we have to be very mindful of that.
So true. It's such a good point because you can get data overloaded, especially for people who you want to track your sleep, your heart rate, your steps, your macros, and it's too much sometimes, right? So it's a process of tuning back into your own body and just even listening to yourself physically. How do I feel? Mentally, how am I feeling? And it's really just going back to basics a lot of times. But Audrey, thank you for sharing that book. And it actually reminded me of John did a video with this young man who gave up his phone for a month. He did like a 30-day, he put his phone in a lockbox for a month, and the video's on YouTube. I can send that out when we send the replay of this session. I'll put the link to that. I just thought it was so fascinating. I was sending it to everyone after I watched it. I'm like, oh my God, you have to watch this. Because not only was it interesting to see what happened with his brain before and after not using his phone for 30 days, but some of the emotional insights that he was having. I thought that was so powerful. Just we were talking about, are we using these devices to distract ourselves? Anyways, it's already 7 o'clock. We could keep on going, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time. But we'll send that out. And thank you again for joining us and for your participation today.
Thank you, everyone, for taking this time to be with us today. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Good night.